left church. I left the way my parents brought me up. I decided to go down my own road and had fun. It was by far a learning experience. There was a lot of things that God saved me from and kept his hand in my life. But a healthy relationship I never knew other than what my parents showed. So I went out and met Amanda in high school and kind of had fun, but off to the military and disappeared. So my life went on a here and there relationship on for many, many years. And then I met my first wife. I was married for 9 years. Met her in Japan at a bar because my good old civilian life was crazy. Hit it off with her. Everything was pretty good. Came to America with her, said she didn't like it and left. We were already married in Japan, didn't know. A few weeks later, her dad called me and said, I'm sending her back to you because I was the man of the house and she married me. She came back and we started our life. I thought everything was grand. And I started going back to church, started getting back into the Word of God. And he kept showing me where I need to love, I need to care, I need to provide. So that's what I started doing. But there was just such a distance that grew. The communication wasn't there. There wasn't the attraction to each other anymore. Finally, it was a missed birthday, a missed Father's Day, and I walked up to her, we need help. So I was praying and trying to ask God, how do I fix my marriage? How do I do this? No answer, nothing. I'm beating myself up going, a loveless marriage is not fun. And keep praying for my kid to figure out, what do we do? How do I go? What steps do I take? Finally confronted her and said, let's go get counseling. We got to do this. And she looked at me and she goes, no, I want a divorce. And then she left for Japan for 2 weeks. So she gets back, we talk about it, and yep, we're getting a divorce. And I moved out.
I did not necessarily grow up in the church, so I didn't have that. I mean, I knew Jesus and I knew God, but I didn't know what that meant. My parents were married, got divorced. I was older, 16. So unhealed hurt from that. That just spiraled out of control. I was very promiscuous, did what I wanted when I wanted, got married, marriage ended in 6 months. He cheated, broke my trust, had no trust in him whatsoever. And moving forward, I had no trust in men, which kind of led down that one relationship after the next and not really knowing what it meant to be in a healthy relationship or what true love meant. Then I was like, Lord, just give me a sign that everything in my life is going to be okay. 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not ready for a baby, but we're going to figure it out. I had a full-time job in the hospital, and I was like, I'm just going to do me. John and I are just going to have fun. And that fun led me to a man that was 20 years older than I was. Later on, I ended up finding out that he had an extensive issue with drugs and alcohol. Things didn't necessarily get bad with him until Weston, my middle one, was probably about a year old. So the Grayson, I was pregnant with Grayson at the time. Things started to become abusive, not just physically, but sexually. I would hide in the room and co-sleep with Weston to protect myself. His drinking had just gotten so bad that I used my kids as my shelter. And their dad and I were back and forth for probably about 3 months. And he was over one night, and Jonathan, the oldest, was still up. We were watching a movie. He had been drunk, and we got into a fight, and he said, if you touch my things, I will kill you. That was my final straw, but that was, now looking back, that was God's way of protecting me. He gave me the out, and that was the out. And from that day forward, I had boundaries put in place. I had walls put up, and it took Aaron a really long time to have those walls brought down.
Every time I would go to pray, every time I was doing something unrelated, she would pop up on Facebook. And oh, hey, Amanda. Oh, yeah, I remember her. And she kept popping up. And I was like, all right, Lord, do I need to call this person? No, just text her. Okay, so I text her. Then she was mean to me, and she didn't want to hang out. And it was like, okay, the chase is on. Let's see where this can go.
And I was like, no, I'm not ready for this. I wanted to go, I'd been looking for church. Prior to leaving that relationship, we got the diagnosis with Grayson when he was 3 weeks old, the baby, that he has cystic fibrosis. And it was hard at the time. And I did it all on my own. And I was searching for a church. I was searching for a family. And it seemed like every time I tried to find something, the two little ones' dad would be like, something would happen. And he'd always turn it around, and it was my fault. So when Aaron came back into the picture, I was like, no. Like, this is not happening. I have 3 kids. One of them has extensive needs right now. I can't do this.
And I told Lord God that, hey, if I can actually get her to go to dinner with me, then we're going to give this a go. I don't want to get married again. I just got hurt. But if she'll just go to dinner with me, we'll give it a go. But it's all on your timing. And it took 2 months for her to even say, all right, I'll go to dinner with you. But it's dinner, and we got to hurry up. I don't got a lot of time.
I was a single mom of 3 kids. I'm like, I can't leave them for like hours at a time. You get dinner, and that's it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, so we met up, and it was like high school all over again. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, what am I getting myself into? I just got out of a relationship that it was torturous. Like, it was just awful. What am I doing? I feel like after that night, it was constant texting and calling. And
yeah, I couldn't get away from her.
Yeah.
It just kept going.
Yep. And here we are.
And then she's like, oh, this is broke. Can you come fix it? Yeah, I can try. And this is broke. Can you fix that? Yeah, I can try. One of the big things I made sure in the beginning of the relationship was God has to come first. You love God more than me, and I'm going to love God more than you, but we'll love each other greatly. And
I was like, ooh, somebody's actually like telling me that I have to go to church. I'm like, great, this is what I've been searching for.
A lot of the healing came from, and for me, was forgiveness. I needed to forgive myself because I took a lot of the blame as I walked away from God. My fault. I did it my way. It wasn't right. I take full responsibility for that. And I wasn't allowing God to forgive me. I kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I just didn't let the healing go and just get the forgiveness I needed. And it was, we didn't get married right away. We lived together. We kept the family running like a family, but we weren't married. And I praying, Lord, I'm screwing up again. It's my fault. This is difficult. And the divorce finalized for me, and it was like, oh, there we go, we're done. But I still had this gnawing. I'm not forgiving myself yet. I haven't totally got through it. And just it was a portion where our good friends told us we can't have our cake and eat it too. You gotta follow God's plan.
When we got slapped in the face with that, we looked at each other and goes, we're giving up. We're going to be abstinent with each other until the day we get married. And that was a year, almost
a year.
It was a year.
And the day I said I do, God said he forgave me. So knowing I'm doing it right was a big, helps me walk a little closer to God every day. Knowing that she's by my side to help me when I fall, but also I'm there to help her.
And it ended up working out just the way it was supposed to. I try not to dwell on the what ifs, like, oh, I really should not have done that. It's the past. I can't really do anything about it. If you put your faith in the Lord and you wait, it'll mean so much more. It really does. There's more to it than...
God meant it for a reason, just between man and a woman, to be intimate. So, my parents said it a million times, and I just didn't listen to them.
I'm not healed completely, and I don't think I'll ever be. Like, the day that I'm healed is the day that I go to Jesus. But I do know that I always tell Aaron, is this what a healthy marriage feels like?
I think it was the life lessons I learned out in the world that I never saw those when I was in the umbrella of my family. So I saw my mom and dad love each other. I saw my mom and dad take care of us kids, do it the best way they knew how, even though I didn't like it, but they did what they knew at the time. So me going out and goofing off and playing the world side, which you regret, but it strengthens me as a man to know what my worth is, what my strengths and my weaknesses are. And when I got out of the military, it was like I know what I am, but there's still one thing missing, and it was God. It just made sense, and things started clicking when I started following.